on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV, and today we're coming to you from one of the finest cities in all of Europe. This here is Prague, with a population of 2.2 million people. First up, here we are at the Prague Castle. This here is the largest castle in the world. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, it spans an area of over 70,000 square meters. The ancient castle extends down to the Lesser Quarter and Malastrana. They have several chateaus and the Wallenstein Palace, as well as a cathedral here called St. Vitus. This is a Gothic type, kind of Romanesque basilica. Now you can actually explore the outer area of the Prague Castle for free. That includes courtyards and gardens. But if you wanted to actually go inside, there's many different circuits that you can pay for, ranging anywhere from $10 all the way up to $40. The castle itself was built in 800 AD, or around the 9th century, by a Christian Bohemian prince. So really lots of history here, and it's all made of stone and fortified with a moat. One thing I also want to say is the Prague currency here is a krona, and it takes $1 to equal 23 or 24 krona depending on the time you're visiting. So they don't use the euro here. The Czech Republic is a member state of the European Union, and they are expecting to adopt the euro here soon. Also, the Schengen visa allows you access to Czech Republic. And Prague, of course, being the most famous and most populated area in Czech Republic. Now here we are going down the castle stairs to the Overlook. So when you do exit the castle, you can walk down because the castle sits up on a hill, and you will get nice overlooks. They have some cafes as you're walking down the stairs into the lesser town area. And now here we are at the Dancing House. This is known for its amazing architecture, also called Ginger, or Fred is the nickname. It's a symbol of the arrival of democracy and freedom in the 1990s. And if you actually wanted to go inside here, I recommend going to the Ginger and Fred restaurant on the top floor. It's got panoramic views of the Vltava River, so that's what I would suggest. Inside they also have a gallery, sightseeing terrace, and a hotel for those of you who are interested. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna head to the Old Town. This here is the Astronomical Clock. This is one of the most famous sites in all of Prague, and you can see why. Built in the 1400s, it's one of the oldest clocks in the world, and actually the oldest astronomical clock in the world. It has the 12 apostles, as well as a skeleton death that rings the bell, which is part of the show that happens every hour, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. There's also a myth associated with this here astrological clock, and they say if the city fails to maintain it or upkeep it, then bad luck will come to the city of Prague. And of course, when you come to Prague, you have to walk around the Old Town area, whether it be in the morning time when they have the cafes open, or in the afternoon, where you can go get some of that local cuisine. Really an awesome experience walking around Prague Old Town. I like the evening time, especially as you go down towards sunset, towards the river. But walking around the Old Town, definitely something you're going to do when you come to Prague. Here, it's probably one of the best old towns you'll see anywhere in the world. Mainly because they've done a great job of preserving the historical past. You can see they've got these cobblestone brick roads, and then on either side you're going to have old historical buildings, museums mixed in, lots of breweries, which we'll talk about a little later on since Prague is known for that. But as you're walking around, you'll see the Powder Tower. This old Gothic tower here is one of the original city gates. It separates the Old Town from the New Town. And I would say that the centerpiece of the Old Town is going to be the Old Town Square. So you've got to come all the way down into the Old Town Square, hang out. I would recommend doing a lunch down here, or a breakfast at some point, maybe even a dinner. But this is really where the heart and soul of Prague comes to life. It's right next to the Astrological Clock as well. I would say the best time to visit Prague is going to be on the shoulder season, so fall or spring. And in the Old Town Square, you'll see the Church of Our Lady. The reason I say to visit Prague in the spring or fall is because in the summertime, in the direct heat, daytime, very, very hot, probably from around 12 in the afternoon until 4 o'clock. So take that in consideration when you're walking around the city as far as what time of the year you want to visit. Another famous masterpiece here is the Charles Bridge. When you're in the Old Town, if you keep walking towards that bridge, towards the river, you'll see the Charles Bridge. Very beautiful, scenic. You can walk all the way across it to the lesser town. Built in the year 1357 by King Charles. And it is one of Prague's most iconic landmarks with its Gothic architecture. You'll see gargoyles. It's survived many wars and floods for several centuries now. And it's made of sandstone and egg yolks. Yes, you heard that correctly. Built from Bohemian sandstone. But legend says egg yolks were mixed into the mortar to make it stronger. And towns from across Bohemia sent their eggs to Prague to help with that construction. Because as you would imagine, having a big, strong bridge that can withstand the floods back in the day would have been a great engineering marvel and something of great importance to everyone in Bohemia. And Prague is the capital of Old Bohemia, extending into Austria and West Germany, as well as Poland. But here we are now at Vltava River. So this is the river that the Charles Bridge crosses. And before highway systems, this was one of the ways you would get around Europe, by these main rivers. And the Vltava here, which was actually so interesting because it had islands in the river here, and it's almost called Prague's Venice around this area because you can actually take canal cruises. Before they put the dams in place, they said the river used to get so low that you could almost walk across it. So it's a very shallow river except for when it's flooding. This here is the largest water wheel in all of Europe, and it actually has a water demon there on the edge. This little green man, and this is located on Devil's Inlet here on an island. Now we're actually going to talk about how to get around. You can take one of these e-scooters, these e-motorbikes. They've got lots of these types of tours around. And if you want to get around the waterways, you can do a boat tour. So you can take one of these small boats around Little Venice area here, around the inlets and the islands, or you can do a river cruise. There's water taxis as well, so getting around Little Venice area here on the Vltava River by boat, definitely peaceful and worth it. Now here we are at the head of Franz Kafka. So this here is a rotating head. You can see it's very silver, metallic kind of color. Really a cool place to go. You know, you don't see many of these around the world, so very unique architecture here in Prague, as you're noticing, with multiple different sites. Next up, here we are at Petrin Hill, and this is a nice place to get some peace and quiet, tranquility. It's a beautiful city park. You can see up here, you've got views looking down into the city where you've got the dancing houses off in the distance, the Vltava River, Charles Bridge. So a good place to get a photo. So they have a very large tower up here. It was actually built part of the Jubilee exhibition in 1891, and it was inspired by the Eiffel Tower. So this is Prague's Eiffel Tower up here on the hill. Now let's talk about my favorite thing here, the food. You have these dumplings, you have sauerkraut mixed in with potatoes and sausage. You also have pork knee, which is done on the barbecue. Lots of barbecue here in Prague. They have goulash. You also have roast duck with cabbage and dumplings. And then you have fried cheese. You have sandwiches. Lots of good food here in Prague that you've got to try. They also have a famous dessert here called turtleneck. Just remember, turtleneck has a unique spelling, so be on the lookout for that. But you'll see these desserts, pastries right there on the side of the street. Do try one. I also went with some soups while I was here, and then lots of the roast come with gravies and a little bit of jelly on the side. Love the food here. And as you know, Prague is known for its breweries, so part of the culture here coming to Prague is drinking beer. So I would say be prepared to drink some beer here in Prague, if you're a beer drinker. And now here we are at the Troja Castle Chateau. This is also a place where they do some food stalls, so you can come here and try various foods if they're doing a food market at the time, or you can just walk around the chateau and check out the gardens and the architecture. And another efficient way to get around the city is going to be on one of these trams. Definitely helps in the summertime when it's hot. And then if you wanted to go for the hop-on, hop-off bus, you can actually do a tour which drops you off at the main sites. I would say if you're here for 24 to 48 hours and you want to make sure you get everything, go with the hop-on, hop-off bus tour. you can find the hop-on, hop-off bus tour in the Old Town Square. Now here we are in Lesser Prague, so this is basically the other side of the river. I would say don't consider skipping Lesser Prague. I actually like it over here just as much as I like the Old Town area, so definitely consider checking out Lesser Prague, the other Old Town. And over here you'll see there's various different sites to check out. For example, from the Old Town, you can walk across the Charles Bridge, come into Lesser Prague, and then take one of the river boats back across. That's one way to do it. Over here, they also have the John Lennon Wall. This is a famous place for its graffiti and art. People come here to pay tribute to John Lennon. It's something to consider if that's your cup of tea. I mean, for me, I'm not a huge fan of graffiti, but some people like the artwork. Now here we are at the Wenceslas Square. There's a few different ways to pronounce this, but I'm going with Wenceslas. You can let me know in the comments if I spelled it wrong or said it wrong. But also down in this area, there's going to be some nightlife. This is probably one of those areas you'll want to consider for nightlife, as well as having many museums. You can see right here, they have the National Museum. Prague is known for its museums, so if you're going to stay a little bit more time, consider checking out the National Museum, where they have some natural science and historical collections for you to explore the culture and the people. Open from 10 a.m. to 6. The price is around 260 Czech kronis. Children under 6 are free. Now here we are at the Bedrich Smetana Museum. This is dedicated to the life and works of the Czech composer. So if you love music, you'll definitely want to check it out. It's only 70 Czech kronis and 50 for students and seniors. And the museum is located right here along the riverfront. Now here we are at the Ice Pub. So this is a way to cool down on a hot day. You come inside the Ice Pub here, and the Robo Mixer makes your drinks. A little bit sci-fi, new age stuff here in Prague, right? Which is kind of fun since most of the city is known for all of its historical value. That's what makes Prague so famous, like the National Theater of Prague. So the performing arts, very famous part of Prague, and even the history of Bohemia. So understanding theater, composers, and all that history, really important. That's why you come to these museums, to learn more. But the big thing here is going to be shows, so definitely check out what shows are playing while you're in town. Classical music, opera and ballet like Hansel and Gretel, jazz music, blacklight theater. They also have the Technical Museum here in Prague, another one of those famous places to go. So hopefully you guys enjoy your trip to Prague, my favorite city in Europe, or at least my top 5. See you on the next one from Budapest by clicking the video link here.